Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it has been forever since I have posted a video, but I'm really sorry about that. Semester's almost over, so once break starts, I will finally be able to get back into a somewhat consistent schedule. While I have time right now, I wanted to do this video talking about my personal predictions for Eragon 5. I know this is way off, and we're not going to get Eragon 5 for a while, but I just thought this would be a fun video to make and see if I'm right. The way this is going to work is I'm going to split my thoughts into two sections, and I will explain each of the sections a little bit later. That's how this video is going to work. Just a little heads up, it's going to be a lot more of a rambling type video and not as structured as my book reviews or any of the other videos. So the two sections are going to be talking about the two places in the timeline I think Eragon 5 is going to take place. First section is going to be talking about immediately after book 4. Section 2 is going to be talking about how I think the book is going to go after somewhat of a time skip between books 4 and 5. So with all that explanation out of the way, let's start with section 1. So, starting out with section 1. If book 5 takes place immediately after Inheritance, Eragon is going to be working on rebuilding the riders in Vrowengard, and we're going to be spending a lot more time in Vrowengard. With that happening, this is the perfect time for Paolini to lore dump everything about the riders as Eragon's learning it, because he's going to have the elves, and the elves live so much longer than humans, so there are bound to be a lot of elves that are helping him that know a lot of the lore about the riders and history. Eragon's going to be rebuilding the order with the help of the elves, and he's also going to have access to whatever information Galbatorix hid from the rest of the public. He'll have access to that if he asks Nasawada for anything. That'll be what Eragon's doing. I could also see Eragon kind of doing what Luke Skywalker is doing in the comics, where he's going around to various temples and finding artifacts and stuff that were hidden by the Empire. The only problem with that, in my head, is the fact that Eragon is destined to never return to Alagasia kind of makes me believe he's going to be spending most of his time on Vrowengard, but I could be totally wrong. I don't necessarily know if the prophecy says that he's not going to return at all, or if he's not going to return to Alagasia as his home. It might allow him to go back to Alagasia for quick visits to Rorin, Nasawada, and the others, but he can't stay there and claim Alagasia as his home. The prophecy is the only thing that's sort of preventing me from fully believing that he's going to be searching around the world of Alagasia for the rider information. Other than that, I think Eragon 5 is definitely going to be a big info book for the riders. As Eragon's learning this information, we'll be learning it along with him, which I'm really excited for. Between whatever the elves know, whatever Galbatorix had hidden, and whatever the Eldenari know, is also going to be incredibly invaluable to Eragon moving forward. So this book will definitely, I think, have a lot of implications for the lore of the riders as Eragon's learning more, and we're learning more alongside of him. So as far as what Rorin and Nasawada are doing, this is kind of where I'm more uncertain, because I have a feeling that if the book's set immediately after book 4, we're still going to have remnants of the Empire around, and even in the epilogue of Inheritance they talked about that. I could see Paolini maybe pulling something like Heir to the Empire and bringing in a new character who can rally whatever remnants of the Empire are left to the cause of bringing back the Empire. I could totally see Paolini pulling something like that. That would definitely have Rorin and Nasawada, and maybe even Murtag, depending on what he's doing. If Murtag's not working with Eragon, I could totally see him helping Nasawada and Rorin and the Varden fight off whatever warlord rises to try and reunite the Empire. That's where I think Murtag's gonna be. What would have been interesting is if Lord Bast hadn't died in book 4 when he was killed by Rorin. I think he would have been the perfect candidate to be that warlord, but you know, since he's dead, a new one could totally rise up, and I would be completely down with that. That is the most logical as to what Rorin and Nasawada are doing. It makes the most sense that they are dealing with Imperial remnants, as Christopher Paolini set that up at the end of book 4. As far as who's going to try and retake the throne, I could see like an ambitious general, or maybe even one of the stronger Black Hand members. I could totally see one of them maybe trying to reunite the Empire as the strongest of the Black Hand magicians. That's a possibility, but I'm leaning more toward like a traditional warlord as far as that goes. My prediction, POV character-wise, we're gonna have Nasawada, Roran, Eragon, and I hope we get a Murtagh POV, because he honestly is criminally underused in the series, and I think because so many people have come to love Murtagh, I think this is the perfect book to sort of do a deep dive on Murtagh, because at the end of book 4, he kind of goes off, does his own thing. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to give Murtagh a lot of character development, because he and Thorn have to really deal with what they did to Oramus. So again, this is the perfect book for Paolini to really deep dive into Murtagh's character and give him a lot of the development that he lacked or was cheated out of, honestly, in the other 4 books. So I'm absolutely hoping we get some sort of Murtagh POV in book 5. I'm just hoping that's the case. If book 5 is set immediately after book 4, I think we're going to see a Eragon who is mainly based in Rowengard. The only problem I think with Eragon sidelined to Rowengard is unless Eragon's part of the story is a lot more character focused, because with Eragon stuck in Rowengard, unless he comes back and is forced back to Alagasia to help with whatever warlord is trying to retake the Empire. Unless he's helping with that, I think his part of the book is going to be a lot more of trying to understand his new responsibilities as the new leader of the Riders. But also, I think we could see more development with his relationship with Saphira. I think that would be an interesting thing to focus on if Paolini isn't just gonna full out allow him back to Alagasia to help. I'm almost 100% sure that Eragon is going to have a much more character-focused story than necessarily an action. I think Paolini could pull that off for book 5. Hopefully, if he does pull a more character-focused story for Eragon, it works out. I have faith in Paolini that he knows what he's doing, that I trust him to pull a character-focused story for Eragon in book 5. So, jumping to probably the more interesting of the two possible book placements is if the book is placed after some sort of long time skip. Like, I'm talking 10-15 year time skip. That way, Eragon can fully establish himself as the leader of the Riders. He's got his school in full swing. This is where I think we're going to see more apprentices. That way, he'd have time to distribute all the eggs he found. As far as the 10-year timeline, this is maybe the part where I'm less certain about this, because I kind of think Paolini is going to pull a Luke Skywalker in the sequel, where we will see Eragon as sort of this wise mentor type character. He's definitely going to be playing the Obi-Wan role in this. The main threat, I think, is difficult to predict unless Paolini goes with this whole one of his apprentices turns evil thing. Unless he goes with that, not totally sure what the main plot will be. That being said, if Eragon 5 is set in this 10-year time frame after book 4, we obviously have to think about the possibility of Eragon's death. I am almost 100% sure that Paolini will kill Eragon. Now, this is the big thing. The farther the book is in the timeline, the better chance Eragon is going to have to die. If it's set 10 to 15 years, there's still a good chance Eragon could die, but it's not as high as if it's set 20 or 30 years after. If it's set 20 or 30 years after, I'm almost 100% sure Eragon is going to die. And that is because in that time frame, he could have trained a dozen riders, if not more. If it's set 30 years, Eragon's almost 100% going to die in some way. If it's set earlier than that, I'm not 100% sure on the chances of him actually dying at that. Another interesting idea that I've always had as my headcanon, if Eragon Book 5 happens, is that Roran and Katrina's daughter, Ismira, becomes a rider. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Roran realizes that his daughter can be a rider. Roran's just like, What the heck? I thought we were done with this. I thought we were done with magic in this family. For the pure comedy of it, I want to see Rowan's reaction to finding out his daughter is a rider. If the book is set like 30-something years after book 4, Eragon is going to definitely die, and we are going to have a new generation of riders take over. If this new generation of riders takes over, it's either going to be led by Izmira, which would be really cool, or some other apprentice. I would find it absolutely wild if one of Eragon's apprentices was Murtagh and Nasawada's kid. I think that would be so cool for Eragon to train Murtagh and Nasawada's child to take Eragon's place as the head rider if Eragon dies. Again, can be completely wild speculation, but I think that would be a really cool idea for that book. After the time skip, I'm not totally sure what the threat would be, short of Paolini pulling the whole My Apprentice Turns Dark, which I think could work. I don't necessarily know if he would pull that. I think he could totally do it. I'm not discounting it as a possibility, but we'll see what happens. The more likely one, I think, is definitely the immediately after the time skip, but I wanted to throw this in here as sort of a wild card to see what Paolini could do with pushing past book 4 and going really far into the future and seeing what that brings for the series. In all likelihood, it'll probably be 6 months to a year after book 4 when book 5 takes place. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening to this really rambling video. I really wanted to make it because I am super psyched for Eragon 5. I cannot wait, and I really just want to hear your guys' thoughts on what do you think Eragon 5 is going to be. Leave it down in the comments. Start a discussion. As always, if you guys want to follow me on social media, my Instagram and TikTok are both Riley Murray Book Reviews. I've been posting a lot on my TikTok, so if you guys want to check out some of my shorter form content, go check that out. I've been posting quite a bit. As always, if you guys have book recommendations you want me to check out and do a video on in the future, leave them down in the comments. Hopefully, you guys will come up with some cool suggestions for me. That is going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do not forget, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss anything. Hope all of you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving. I will see you guys next video. Don't forget, keep on reading.